Oh, now I can.
All right. How are you, brother?
Good, how you doing? Good to see you.
Great to be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting, fun time, of course, as always. Well, welcome everyone to another episode here of Cosmic Emery's little webinar. We're going to be doing some Q&As after. So save your, ask your questions during the talk here, of course. But at the same time, we're going to do most of the Q&As, after. This is Glenn May. He's this spiritual healer, really good friend of mine. He works in heart center modalities, and he activates the open heart chakras and systems. He also channels light from what we call the light language. Now, this is an amazing term that I'm putting in my new dictionary, my new cosmic dictionary, which I'll get into a little bit later. You guys will have fun with that. And he works through this language that, I'll let him explain it, but it's so dynamic, and, I've seen him do this many, many times. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Now, he does have some other websites and organizations you can follow, which I would like Glenn to type that in on the audience text message box there, so people can go there and follow it. One of them is called definephoenixhealing.org, and the other one is Stargate Crusader, StargateCrusader.com. And and that is going to be the ones you want to find out, what he's up to, what he's doing. He also has some great conferences coming up and gatherings that I highly recommend as well. And, he brings this private practice into healing Gaia, healing the earth, and also healing people, planet, and other entities out there that are helping us move through this transition. So welcome, Glenn. Thank you so much for taking me up on this. I've known you for quite a while now, and I thought maybe it was time that my audience gets introduced to you because of all the dynamic stuff you do.
Thank you, brother.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about, what that really means of what you do. Give us a little brief, definition of the light language, and also, opening the heart center. Oh, the dragons are at it.
Awesome. That's because they hear me. They hear my voice. I miss them.
They hear your voice,
the dragons, R2 and B2.
Yeah.
I do a bunch of different things, and when we talk about ourselves, it's so difficult to throw labels on, like I'm this or I'm that. But the essence of who I am and what I love to do is to help bring people through a process of self-realization, self-actualization, which leads to self-empowerment.
Right.
And I do it through a heart-centered way that, not only do we speak in a physical term of being heart-centered, but an actual way of, when we start to begin to change, we're actually changing our perceptions, we're changing our DNA at the same time.
Right.
And we're opening ourselves up. And, everybody today is faced with certain challenges, whether it be relationship, financial, health related. And it's so important to realize the heart-centeredness that we all have, no matter what challenge that we're faced with, that we can overcome that. We've been kind of minimized in so many different ways that we don't have the power. We need all of these different things in the world that need to fix us. And we do have the power to help ourselves and to make better choices. So, in a big ball of wax, that's what I love to do. I love to, help people, and through my whole life and both my working career and
you're working for everyone about that. One of the things is you're a retired firefighter.
That's correct. Started off as a police officer at the ripe age of 20 years old, and I loved law enforcement. I have a great appreciation for our brothers and sisters in blue that are helping and protecting us. And I found that through my interactions with law enforcement that I enjoyed it, but I didn't necessarily like all of the negative connotations that went with it. When I took my uniform off,
yeah, that's hard.
He's still a police officer, so be careful what you say around him. You never know what, and that didn't, make me all kind of warm and fuzzy, to be honest.
Right.
And I felt that the fire service was a better fit. And I made the change to go into the fire service and, become an EMT as well. And that's where I spent the bulk of my 35-year career of working as a career firefighter, EMT on the line. I was also a rank of deputy fire marshal simultaneously. And I have a very, very large background in hazardous materials and technical rescue. So, that's where I get to speak a little bit of Emery language and understand about all of the great products and things that he's done scientifically, including, his medical background. So, this is where Emery and I get to connect a little bit better on a deeper understanding, because we've been in some of the same trenches, so to speak, but not necessarily on the same ground.
No, absolutely. I mean, I always click really good with the first responders, the EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, police officers. There's a connection there for sure. And that's one of the things I picked up on you, of your self-awareness, which also transcends with you when you're doing meditation, when you're doing a puja, let's say, like we do before close encounters of the fifth kind protocols. It all kind of fits hand in hand, and there's a lot of cohesiveness with these types of individuals that have been on the fight or flight front line with different scenarios. And, it's not just us, it's also many other people that are called to duty when time comes. You can fight or flight, and, it's a respect either way. One of the things I like to get into too is when we're healing, we see so many patients, every month, as you know, Glenn, and a lot of them always go to the physical right away. They go 3D.
Right.
And we do have programs like on our scanner that do measure the photonic energies and harmonic energies of the body, and special cameras that can pick it up also. And I'm not talking about the cameras you can go down on Santa Monica Boulevard and for $20 take a snap of your aura. These are very, very sensitive cameras. And we look at this emotional state, and basically 100% of these diseases and viruses and bacteria, parasites, cancers, all of this, yeah, we can fix that, which we're very well known to do. However, there's always an emotional attachment to that. And I think you of all people kind of understand this, is that, once we could be working out every day, we could be eating really well, and there's still something not right with the body. And it's this energy that your body's also trying to get in shape through the metaphysical world, through the activation, I'll say, of, other light. And that's where you come in, because when I saw what you do and experience what you do, you brought light in to the space. You brought light into the individual. And that, my friend, in itself is a healing modality that, you have a gift for. Now, of course, anyone can do this, and this is what you do. You teach this type of light language. I don't know how to actually to do the term because it's still new for me, but it is about, bringing energy and light into the body. And that's why I developed the nano green, is because the nano green, I'll grab my black light. Oh, here it is. The nano green, look at that, lights right up, carries light. It carries the light. That's not light, that's a black light. So it carries light into the system and corrects the DNA. The DNA is a crystalline light structure. And once we, reprogram that and block out all these negative energies, like the 5G, the 6G is already coming out, this stuff actually repels that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but what I'm getting at is what Glenn does with the harmonics of his voice is bringing light into the area. So, we're planning another big, we have a lot of clandestine CD5s we do, a lot of other missions we do on the side for fun. And we're bringing Glenn into that group. So I think it's a really good idea for when we have these close encounters and we're connecting with these other civilizations. It's not just about voice; it's usually telepathy and light. You can share with that yourself on that kind of light work of your how you channel that energy.
Absolutely. So, as I said before, everything that we do can be filtered through the heart. And for me personally, when light language kind of just showed up, I was very much working on the opening of my heart. And, part of my background being a career firefighter, we're our bravado, it's right on our sleeve, we're tough, we're rough, we get the job done, anybody can't do a job better than a fireman. There's a certain mentality that we carry. And I had to peel the layers of all of that off to really get to the true essence of who I am. Yes, I can be that person, but it's so important to unravel the, everything that you've thought about yourself, everything that you adopted as a paradigm or a belief system, to get back to the real true essence of who you are, which exists in your heart. And as you open up these layers, new opportunities, new synchronicities start to open up. And scientifically speaking, we know that the heart produces this toroidal field, right, Emery? So
yeah, exactly. This field of energy, which complies with many unseen physical light energies, it's just like the Earth's magnetosphere and this toroidal thing going on. It's going on universally with all living things.
yes.
And everything is living.
Right. So, when we get into thinking of the world as energy, frequency, and vibration, well, that kind of changes things. So, for me personally, I had to lose the emotional attachments to, this over masculine, bravado, to understand that, I'm a balanced human being. There's a feminine energy and a masculine energy that both exist within me simultaneously. And to understand that, there's some deep work of emotions that we have to work on it. And whether it be a trauma or a bad experience, a bad relationship, something that happened to you in your life, you have to come to the realization that it's just part of a challenge and part of a learning experience. And that really shows you the true strength of who you are. And when we start to transition from strength to vulnerability, so having strength in vulnerability, we start to open up our heart and we open up to this new frequency. And this new frequency of heart allows us to experience life in so much more of a more fulfilling way that brings these unexpected synchronicities, these unexpected, unimaginable experiences that are they're very touching and heartwarming. And it makes opportunity for you to be the best you that you are.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Glenn. I mean, when we correct DNA scientifically with light and harmonics, the same can be done, through the voice harmonics, and because everything is harmonically, it's sound, before form, including light. So this sound, that we sometimes when we meditate and do ohms and all sorts of mantras is activating the DNA on a whole nother level. And not only your DNA, but the DNA of the universe and of other planets and of other beings. So it's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to do for anyone and anything that you're trying to manifest for the betterment of whatever that intention is.
Right.
And I always talk about when you do intention mantra work or meditation work, that you do want to have you do want to put that into words. Words are a very healing, amazing thing, no matter what language it is. And it carries vibration, which is sound, which basically is recorded in the Akashic records, and it's forever. For every time you say something, it's forever. So that's why they call curse words curses, because they're curses on an entity or a living thing, which could be a crystal, a rock, a human being, a planet, a solar system, or another dimension. So these things are very powerful, and that's why I don't allow cursing, at individuals here at the house. Of course, it's okay if you stub your toe or the dog eats your hamburger.
And in your case, it's your whole entire dinner with those two.
You can't leave those dragons anywhere. We've noticed for a couple of minutes they look like they're all relaxed, sleeping on on their dog beds, and you just go to the restroom with a plate out somewhere, and they're almost as tall as me now, Glenn.
Oh, they're over my head.
So they're a little, they're getting out of control. As far as growing, but that's my fault, because that's too much light energy. Too much light energy, they turn into these little stars.
Oh, but they're the best loving dogs.
Yeah, but they are. We got a couple of questions, so I'm gonna go to the top and see what they are, Glenn, and then we'll keep going. Let's see here. We have David Campbell. Thank you, David, for joining us. Please list our beautiful following there, Cosmic Disclosure community. David Campbell is one of the founders with myself for that. If you guys never heard of it, go to Cosmic Disclosure community. It's fantastic. We've already reached 20,000 people, in less than a year. Hi, Maria. Aloha from Hawaii. Aloha to you too. Aloha. Very welcome. Kathy, hello from rainy Florida. Kathy, it's the season. That's where I used to live. Every day at 3 p.m.
Yep.
Here comes the torrential downpours. Grab some organite, throw them around the property. That's about it. That's all you can do. It doesn't. Those rainstorms are coming no matter what. They're not even scalar. It's just the way it happens. One of the reasons I got out of there. But I am going to Florida soon. Darla and I are going to do a honeymoon out there at the end of this summer at some time. So I might be out there doing some really cool work. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Rosaria is from Ireland. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Can everyone see? Oh, yeah. So that's Kathy, you're beautiful. Okay, let's see. And scroll down here. Marsha from Arizona. Hello. Welcome, Marsha.
All right, Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona, one of our favorite places. Zara, of course, from New York. We know you very well.
Hi, Zara.
Hi, Sina. I don't know where Sina's from. It's a nice name. Michelle says, blessings to all. Thanks for this amazing subject. Oh, you're very welcome. It's going to get fun here. Hi, Kate. How you doing? Good to see you. Marie is also from Hawaii. Okay.
Aloha.
Hey, Jude, you got on. All right, Jude's on board. One of my cosmic sisters. Yeah. Where's Lynn? Lynn, she better be on. Kirsten says, I don't see the show. Uh-oh. So Kate wants us to say those domains one more time. So what are those two domains, Glenn? Can you repeat those?
You can find us. We're doing a retreat, and the web address is www.stargatecrusader.com. And you can find me personally on my website is www.divinephoenixhealing.org.
And, this retreat, I'm extremely fascinated. I'm sorry I can't make it out other filming I'm doing with Guy at the time, but Gaia TV. Could you give us a little description on what to expect, at this amazing retreat you're doing up there?
I love
and where it's at and stuff. Yeah.
This retreat is a truly immersive retreat. And, there's a lot of conferences out there that call themselves a retreat, and they're really more of an event where there's a sage on stage. So the way that I've designed this is I wanted to have an intimate experience between the presenter and the guest. And how I designed that is I brought in 8 of my closest, most spiritual friends that are all well-known presenters. You might have heard of Debbie Solaris, who has also been on the Gaia Network with Regina Meredith and George Noria a couple of times. Rob Gauthier, who is called the E.T. Whisperer, who channels literally 1,000 or more different extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional beings. And people like that who all are very heart-centered and spiritual. And we only have 34 guests over a 3-day period, which will be situated on the beach at Madison, Connecticut, which overlooks Long Island Sound, and also happens to be on a ley line called the Hammonasset Line that spans all the way from the center of the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, comes across Montauk Point, which is in Long Island, which Emery certainly knows about, and goes all the way to Buffalo through Syracuse, Saugerties, and also Woodstock, New York, which is very familiar terminology. So you can understand that, as I mentioned, all of those places, they're very energetic, be it that there's a ley line and the geology that lays behind or underneath that ley line. So in this retreat, which is very unique because it hasn't been done on the East Coast at all, is we will be immersing ourselves in some American or Native American Indian ceremonies to begin, kind of like cleansing and opening up. And just as I said, like the personal work that I've done to peel off all of the layers of my heart and myself to get to the true essence, we're going to be doing the same thing. And I'm using, something called a fire ceremony, and which we know in many indigenous cultures is that fire is about birth and clearing. And that is part of what we're going to be doing is we're releasing all of the things that are no longer serving us, all of the things that are holding us back. And it is a very moving experience. This is all completely experiential. This is not, listening to somebody talk on a stage. This is about becoming an intimate relationship with each other. We're co-creating in each other's energy. We're creating this beautiful energetic field. And then we'll go through the process of, after that first day of clearing, we're going to go into the increasing of energy, of our own energy, of the collective energy of the group, and the collective energy of the land, Mother Gaia, and all of our surrounding areas. And by doing this, we're leading up to our CE5. And this way, we can have some of the best experience. And I've got to share this with you, Emery, because I know this will resonate. So a couple weeks ago, I want to say maybe probably about 5 weeks ago, I got this part of information some way within me that, there's going to be some type of aquatic resonation with the aquatic life during the CE5 in this particular event that I'm doing. And, it's kind of been like pinging me over and over and over. And that's just how I receive information. So, yesterday or the other day, I was scrolling through something very quickly of the local news. And there it is, off the coast of Nantucket. There are 160 whales that were spotted and 5 different species. Now, I've lived in New England my whole life. I've never lived out on the West Coast. I've visited many times, so I'm very familiar with the aquatic life in this region. there has never been more than 8 or 10 whales simultaneously in a pod, been in this area, let alone 5 different species. So
it's very rare, Glenn. I mean, I've fished from New Jersey all the way up to Nova Scotia in the open sea my whole life, and it's rare you even get to see a dolphin or whale or anything with the cold waters and how rough it is. So I think it's an amazing of this gathering that you're talking about. But go ahead, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. So the information that I'm getting is that there's a connection somewhere between what we're doing and this aquatic life, because in the grand scheme of species and of things that are not of this terrestrial origin, the dolphin species and whale species are not of this terrestrial species, indigenous to the planet Earth.
That's correct. Absolutely. I mean, if I can elaborate on that, while being in the projects, working on different subspecies and species of extraterrestrial beings and hybrids, there were many different types of, dolphin type humanoids and whale type humanoids. Most prevalent was the manatee ones. So these beings definitely have evolved beyond a million years of what we are today. In other solar systems and other planets in this dimension. And that means they did grow into a bipedal type being. Some did stay with the oceans, like the aquafarians that we talk about. I actually named the nano blue aquafarian nano blue because it resonates with that energy of the ocean and the sea. And part of the elements that I make with my nano blue come from the sea, and everyone knows that the nano green, the way it glows, comes from those beings deep down in the oceans that make their own light. So what I'm getting at is so many of these different beings, and there's many different kinds of these types of these beings out there, just like there's many types of humans, and the same thing goes for the dolphins, the whales, and the manatees. It's an interesting thing because they are so more advanced than we are. It's sad because their brains are 4 times the size of ours. It's sad that just because we can't communicate with a creature, we treat it like a dog. And it's the worst thing you can do on this planet as a conscious being, because you're supposed to be able to connect with anyone and allow that being to try to connect with you. And we have alienated pretty much all the beings on the planet except for humans, because we all can understand or learn the language. And with other beings, such as these dolphins, they work through harmonics and sonar and telepathy and energies. They use the water to communicate with, which is fascinating. And it'd be easier for us to do so because we're all water. So they're communicating with us all the time. And it's sad, I'll also take the negative into this. It's sad that, the famous dolphin, Flipper, went up to his trainer one day and said, "Hey, I'm done with this. I'm going to leave now." And he flipped upside down and died in front of the trainer. And that was a message to the trainer. Like, he said he heard him in his head. He said he's leaving now. He doesn't want to do this anymore. Flipped over, died in front of him. He went on to become the biggest advocate in the world for being against keeping dolphins and whales at SeaWorld and whatnot. And he's the one who invested in films in The Cove, which we won't get into. But, The Cove, that documentary where they slaughtered in Asia. They let all these dolphins into this cove and just slaughtered them. So, we're not setting a good example as beings on the planet because we're doing the same thing to each other. We're on the precipice of World War III. And, it's kind of, we shouldn't be acting this way. Now, the positive to this is, as you know, Glenn, sometimes tragic things have to happen for us to change. Just like the fire is the new birth of the new beginning. And this says, hey, dragons, calm down. They're getting excited because we're talking about this stuff. And they said, who cares about the dolphins? What about the canines? And, they do have the largest brain in the canine family, the Cane Corsos. And, all right, that's enough. Throw them a brontosaurus bone. But so getting back to this, the fire, I'll link it up to what you said, is, it is about this new beginning. And nuclear warheads are fire. I'll guarantee it. We'll see what happens with that. But all I'm saying is all this stuff has to happen for us to get to certain areas of consciousness around the planet. And it's great if you have groups of, people that are meditating around the world and you're trying to connect. I think all of this is part of a healthy, energetic, heart-centered light being. What do you think?
Absolutely. And, we need to switch to a higher level of thought and remove ourselves of the hierarchy that we are at the top of the food chain and start to observe the relationship that we have with animals, plants, minerals, all of the things, all of the elementals as more of an equal, because everything serves each other, right? Whether it be air, water, fire, the earth, we're not at the level of consciousness where we can self-sustain in a, creating our own atmospheres and creating all of these things. We're just not quite there yet. That doesn't mean that we're not close, but we need to begin to rethink in a new way that is more serving and more equality with all of the things that are alive, and everything is alive.
Yeah, no, everything is alive, and I'm glad you bring that up as well, because everything has a frequency, and everything is connected to what we believe in as a source of whether it's your God or an entity or an energy. One thing is in common with the atomic structure and molecules and all the stuff we go down to even beyond the nano level. And this has been proven too. It's not just these theories that come out. Of course, physicists have all theories, but there are some proven theories, which is we know as conscious beings here on the planet, like everyone on here that has come on to listen to us, that there is definitely a lot more than that. And there's a lot more that if we want to better ourselves, because this is a training, we're in training right now. We chose to come here at this time, the most dangerous time in the entire freaking universe. And it is going to be so hard. And I get a lot of emails of you guys consciously crying about how hard it is. But you wanted to clean this karma up in one big slam bam, thank you, ma'am, conscious bam, that is, to figure out how this, how it is going to be once you graduate, from this beautiful class you chose to took and volunteered all of us probably. I know one of you guys are responsible for it. We've got to point the finger. But we are going to be, we're going to survive this, and survival is we go on forever anyway. And we can't check out. We bought that ticket. We're going to have to watch the show. We have to engage in the show. We can't go hide. We can't do negative things. We have to treat everyone as if you want to be treated, or how you would treat God if you met him. And I really strongly believe in, the treatment of others, the communication with others. Communication's a big thing. We're in the midst of more war, and it's all over communication. Pretty much all the wars were a lack of communication. or we didn't get the letter to whoever, like, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. There was a fax that came in, but it didn't get to the president, till a day later. There was a lot of different things that happened, with wars and with disagreements around the planet. And, same thing with religions. There's a lot of religious, organizations. Religions are also called cults. Check out Bob Larson's Book of Cults, who I trained under many, many years ago in the early 1990s, and learned a lot about religion. I studied religion for about, my whole life, actually. And it's always ongoing because of the new stuff that comes out. Now we have the archaeologists out there with the tablets. We have more information that's documented that you can go look at the University of California and other places that have the deciphered, tablets, or you can try to decipher them yourself. One of the fun things that Glenn and I do is we go to a lot of archaeological sites, around North America, and we look at the petroglyphs, we look at the ancient writings, and, we kind of decipher what that is in our own, meaning.
I'd love to get a little bit deeper and tie that in with some light language, Emery, if I could.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Awesome. So, when you see a picture or a symbol or something that is interesting to you, that is somewhat inspiring and you want to know a little bit more about, those are things that are activation codes. And as Emery said, the Hopi Indian left many petroglyphs all over North America. And as the Hopi came to North America, part of their process in becoming a divine clan was a process called migration. And their migration meant that they had to go to the most furthest points north, the most furthest points south, east, and west from where they actually started in the southwest. And until they returned, they were not considered a full spiritual or holistic Hopi clan until they came back. This process took centuries to do. And there were many clans that made it, and there's not many clans that made it back that were designated, but there were many sub-clans that started to just pick up their residency in whatever part of the Americas that they stayed. And they were highly intellectual, and they left their information for us to rediscover all over North America. And you can find the similarities between the petroglyphs. And when you look at them and spend some time with them and just take it in as if you were looking at a piece of art, you may notice that something inside you changes. Something inside you activates. And you may not know why, even though you may never have had some type of tie, whether it be ancestral, any type of line, any type of interest, that something inside you just seems to change. And that's basically what their highest technology did. They realized that through certain symbology that they could change the way someone looked or felt or expressed by just merely looking at this activation. And for me personally, and I know Emery, it's had a profound effect where we've become more inquisitive and more, asking more questions and how is this related to this and how is the ties go back to that. And for me, when I see these symbols, it brings up this heartfelt feeling, which is what I call my activation of my light language. And what happens for me is I have a sense deep within my heart. It comes into my high heart or where my throat chakra would be. And if I just kind of ease my consciousness, my ego aside, and I allow this language to come out, this is where the light language comes out. And I'd love to do a little bit of light language, Emery, if that's okay with you. That way people can experience it.
Yeah. I was going to do the meditation and stuff at the end.
Oh, sure. Whatever.
I really wanted you to definitely, you have to. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Well, to add to that, Glenn, in what I've learned also in the archaeological projects was exactly what you said. Symbols and different pictures are not always a language. They're actually activating codes that we need to move forward in this, in this 3D world that we've been remanufactured in. So this is a great time to explain, how the pictures and not only just a picture, and it doesn't have to be in color. It could be two-tone, one-tone. And a great example is what I've noticed in your little spiritual cosmic place there you're sitting in. Everyone needs a sacred space, number one. I don't care if it's in a closet, in the garage, your bedroom, wherever you have something, you have to have, your crystals, your pyramids. Glenn has a beautiful picture of the light being in the back, which, I have two giant ones here at the house, which I'm going to replace this one with for future, because I had my light being my original big one. You've seen these giant hand painting pictures of light being. You have a copy of it right there behind you. If you guys want one of these posters, you can go to emerysmith.co, and I'll type it in here, emerysmith.co, and then shop. Maybe Darcy can put that link for the poster in there. And what's interesting is I've had that poster, that painting that was painted for me, which is an artist's rendition of the original. And I'll get the original. If Darla can go grab the original in the library, I'll show it to you. And what was interesting is I had it behind me when I was doing my webinars like 7 years ago. And after a couple of years, people are like, what is that picture back there? Because I never really explained it. It was just back there. And I had so many requests, like, how do we get one? They didn't know it was the actual picture that I took, an artist's rendition of an event that happened on Boca Grande Island with Stephen Greer and I on the team when this being, first we were starting our CE5, getting everything ready. We've already been out there a couple days. The area was prepped on the beach, and a giant craft came out of the water dripping off the craft. And then all of a sudden, all these little scintillating, sparkling lights were around everyone. And there was one right in front of me, about 3 feet in front of me. And the sparkle light just focused on it, relaxed, and it came into this beautiful little being, like with a halo around it. And I looked at it and I said, may I take your picture, through telepathy? And it chuckled and laughed at me and said, well, of course, that's why you're here. So it was a really nonchalant, really funny thing. And ET communication usually is very humorous. It's not like on Star Trek. It's not like that. They are very funny most of the time. So I just took my camera, I took a picture. During events like this, you do not act like a paparazzi when you're representing planet Earth. You mentally, through telepathy, talk to them or say it out loud. They can decipher very well, and you'll get some sort of information. You don't want to run up to imagine if we went somewhere, okay, and, I won't say any Hollywood stars' names, but, and all of a sudden you're bum rushed by all these hairless apes trying to get your picture. It doesn't go over well, It's like us, first time going to the moon, and we hit a golf ball. What if an alien came to planet Earth, all right, and he gets out of the craft, he puts a ball on a tee and hits it, I would be like, well, they need to go.
We don't like the neighbors.
Hold on one sec. And so, it's all about, the communication, and this light being had these beautiful colors, and it was witnessed by, 50 some people. We have recordings of the scintillating lights, everything that was happening, and it, was over within maybe a minute and a half, and then everything went back into the craft and it dematerialized. So this happens a lot to us. We've connected with these light beings. And you are a light being.
Yes.
How is that? Well, How is that? I'll tell you. If we were to go back into the second dimension, I'll tell you, it'll look like Glenn and I just dropped, all of our weight because we'd be flat like a piece of paper.
Right.
Not that Glenn's very in shape, as you can tell. I'm still losing my weight. I'm really proud. I got another 10 pounds. I'm going to be ripped here by the end of summer. So, yeah. And so we go back to second dimension. You kind of look like a thin piece of paper. What if you go into the fourth and fifth dimension? You think you're going to look like this? Mm-mm. Most of us on the transition from this dimension to the fourth and fifth, we become what's behind Glenn's left shoulder. Darla, bring me the original picture if you could. You're listening. And that is the light body. And it's interesting because that being, he could have made himself into our 3D, but what he did was he was, vectoring in and he was shifting in and out of this dimension in a safe way. So no one could shoot him. We wouldn't blow him up. And whether he was still in the craft and he was doing a holographic image or up in space doing a holographic image, regardless, it was a very safe place for him to be in as this light form. And we are light forms. When he looks at us, he might not see my beautiful face. He's probably seeing my beautiful light. So these are some of the things. Oh, it's the light being that's up in the bookshelf. No,
we forget that, the energy within every cell within our body has light. And by elevating our consciousness, we increase the amplitude of that light. And of course, all of your products help us increase that amplitude because all of your products are charged, through frequencies and through the light. And that helps us, on a cellular level, maintain a resilience of light.
Yeah, the products, guys, that he's talking about, and maybe Darcy can give a link to the shop there. The nano, I'm not going to get into too much of it. I do want you to investigate it for those of you who don't know it. I know there's a lot of people. Zara, if you want to comment on it, I know you said something that you got the nano blue and nano green. You've been on it for a while. I know Glenn, of course, has tried it and used it, still uses it. All my team is on it. It's a type of formula that I developed because I came down with cancer on November 22nd, November 15th, 2022, leptomeningeal cancer, and they gave me 2 weeks to live. Now, my dad and his mother died of this, so it was hereditary, and I knew I was planning on maybe it happening to me later on in life, and I was preparing for that. That's why I became this specialist in frequency and cancer fighting, and fighting the disease that causes cancer and these viruses and bacteria and parasites. So when time came where the VA said, you only got 2 weeks to live, maybe 3 weeks if you do chemo radiation. Of course, we didn't do that. I had all the frequency devices already developed, so we were utilizing those, but I needed a boost. And Darla said, you got to make something in the lab. So I went there and I started from the basics. I was starting with, of course, the mana, the gold. And I was starting with the types of ormuses, the monatomic, orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, because that raises voltage in the body. So I was able to produce a 0.02 nanometer particle of zinc, gold, and silver, and which has never been done before. And the smaller the particle, the easier it is for that light that Glenn's talking about of that molecule to get into the DNA and correct the DNA, whether it's the DNA of a virus, parasite, or bacteria, which it was, that caused my cancer. And it also was metastatic. It went to my stomach, my pancreas, it went to my lungs. And I had these giant nodules all up and down my whole body. And it was a good time. Darla will beg to differ, but the thing was we were able to attack those things because of the nano blue. The nano blue has the nano zinc, has methylene blue vervain. It goes through 3 days through the washing of crystals and sterilization of many crystals. It goes through the harmonics and null-gire frequencies, and also goes through the rainbow light spectrum of emitting photons into it. A good example of this is, Harimoto, who did that. He puts love on the water, and then, he writes love on the vial, puts in flash freezes it, and it's this beautiful thing. Well, we're water, of course, all water, and we do the same thing with this nano blue and nano green. We infuse it with all those energies. So when you drink this, whether it's 5 cc's a day or, it comes in these little bottles, little vials. Nano green, nano blue. It also comes in a big 1,000 ml bottle. I think you have one on your right side there, it looks like. He's got the big one. And, depending on what you're trying to treat, you can use this. So it's great because, it helps block some of the 5G, the 6G. It's really good because it's protecting the DNA's light. That's the secret. It's not, you're not there. It's like around your cell or anything. It's going super deep, super, micro, macro, type style where it's getting really small particles in there to give the DNA more light and to form a shield around. And this, it allows the body to, instead of getting 100% of the Wi-Fi, the 5G, 6G stuff, it cuts it down around 35, 40%, which I know doesn't sound like much, but that'll also make you live, another 30, 45% longer. Because it's protecting the damaging DNA. And that's also important because of the radiation levels that are also out there. Well, getting back to what we said, I don't know if you can see this, but that's the original photograph. Let's see. Can you see that? It looks blurry. Is it blurry? That camera, let me see. Get the camera.
Great picture.
Huh?
That's a great picture. I remember when you showed it to me. I love that.
You didn't see this?
No, I saw that.
You were here.
When I was there, yeah.
Look, you can see his eyes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's the original picture. Greer won't give me credit for it. It's kind of funny.
That doesn't
Him and
matter.
his little following, I'm not with CSETI anymore. I was a vice president of CSETI for many years and the chief financial officer. But I had to move on to more important things of saving the world. So it's really cool that the whole thing is, I'm circling it back. No worry, I'm getting off on a tangent. That picture that was behind me that he has, that I had out there, people are writing in, how do I order that? I'm like, oh, it's not for sale. It's an original. And after, getting like 100 requests, I said, okay. So I made like a couple thousand posters, and people started putting this in their sacred spaces. And they said, so many people will focus on this picture, and it is emitting a download.
Absolutely.
And that's why that being allowed me to take the picture, because he knew I was going to show it to the world. And it's the most famous picture ever taken by a civilian of a real extraterrestrial. This was the statement by the Navy, head of photography, when they analyzed it illegally. At the time, we were trying to keep it quiet, but we had to infiltrate the CE5 head. She sent it to the naval intelligence people. So they didn't know I took the picture until later on. And then they said, oh, of course, that was Emery. But, what happened was they said this, they did this report, and the ET knows that this is a message. It's not a programming, but it is kind of a download, I'll say, of different parts of your light body and what you need to go through. Anyway, if you do want a copy of that, they're super cheap. They're on emerysmith.co. Go ahead and, order one. We have one that has Orion in it and one that doesn't. I think you have the Orion one.
Yeah, I think I have the Orion.
Little stars there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very, very fun stuff. And I'll get back here with the Kathy thing. Kathy says, where'd it go, Kathy? Okay. 812 want to know that her husband is a policeman.
Yes. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for your
Okay.
service.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Zara says, I just finished my bottle of mango green and I'm never going to stop using it.
All right.
It is addictive. No, there's nothing in there addictive. It's all natural, no chemicals.
It's not addictive. You feel good. And who doesn't
Yeah,
want
you
to
do.
feel good? Who doesn't want to feel
Yeah,
better than they did before?
Right. Zara says, does nano blue also correct DNA? Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yep. Let's see. Michelle says, Glenn, how do you protect yourself from taking on others' energies when you go and open up your heart to heal others? That's a really good one. I'll let you take it.
That is a great question, and thank you for asking that. So,
Michelle.
one of the things that I do is you'll see that over my shoulder there is a lit candle that's always emitting light. So I just envision the candle of light, and when I work with people, I go through a self-protection. So parts of my self-protection methodology is when I'm going in or I'm performing a ceremony and I want to purify or to create a sacred space, I create through intention in my heart space, I bring forward my Merkaba. And a Merkaba is that inverse pyramids that are together. And that is your light body right there. Then I surround my Merkaba in a clear or white sphere. And then the last part of my protection is to cube the sphere by creating 6 emerald green sides. So front, back, top, bottom, right, left, and enclose that. Therefore, I am creating a safe and sacred space, and then I ask the higher beings of knowledge and wisdom and all of my spiritual community, my spirit guides, to aid and protect for the highest and greatest of good of all. And I can tell you that doing that practice for so many times over and over and over, that it creates an energetic presence. And remember when I said that, when you put your intentions and you work through your heart, you're creating that toroidal field, right? So you're sending out a frequency. And with the intention of sending out the protection of that frequency, you're emitting a positive frequency. And we know that when we emit a positive frequency, like attracts like. So the negative frequency has a tendency not to like it. That's not something they want. That's not something that they can penetrate. So we are using that positive frequency to create a beautiful balance in order to work with somebody. So that's how I do that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great protection. Glenn talks about this, protection field through his light, how he does it. I think people need to always, Darla and I constantly have to prepare our light body before touching someone or before going into the room with someone, because we treat everyone as, an infected demon, because everyone does have negative energies in them. That's why they're coming to us, whether it be for their healing, for their physical body, whether it's for their spiritual body or their mental body. These bodies are all separate, which we have ways to measure them. So we're not just treating physical diseases that are out there. We're also treating the damaged emotional auric states and other things that are going on in the body. And thank you, Glenn, for saying that. Okay, it says here, Marie says, thank you guys for your service. I am a former firefighter and paramedic. Well, thank you for your service, Marie.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian says, I tried to get a reading with Debbie Solaris. She was booked out, and I listened to George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM. You should try George Norrie on Gaia TV. Darcy, could you or Darla go ahead and put inside the text thing here that little link for my ambassador program with Gaia in case people want to see that? they can sign up and you can watch me and George Nori when George Nori interviews me, and also all these other people like Debbie as well. Zara says, is there a way for us to become telepathic? Well, yes, Zara, we do teach that. It also comes with elevating your consciousness by going out amongst the stars. And, how did you learn to read? You had to go to school. So we do these CD5s or any CD5 out there. And these are downloads. You become more familiar with the extraterrestrials. There's, getting into a great meditative state is like the first thing you want to do. So work on your remote viewing skills, work on your meditation skills, like how long can you sit there and be quiet, in the mind? I know you can't be quiet, Zara, physically, that's for sure. She knows I'm joking. Kate said, in 1982, I was dropping LSD and listening to humpback whale music to paint abstract paintings. The message I got loud and clear, like telepathy, was, we're running out of time, they're trying to warn us. Yeah, absolutely. The message that we're getting, I think Glenn will agree and attest to this. I'm in the ocean a lot doing filming, and have been in the ocean a lot because I used to film for Discovery Channel, National Geographic underwater. And the messages that always came in were exactly what you just said. It's like running out of time, but their time, is a little bit different than ours. They live, kind of similar timelines, and they can live a lot longer than us too. They've been through a lot of tragedy with other civilizations, and that packet of energy is in these new whales and dolphins. So they already know where this is going. And the whole manifestation we're trying to do is to prevent that from happening. And with enough light bodies out there, and that's why I love what Glenn does, because he's training people how to do this, is that energy will 3, 2, 1 tilt, will shift this, unfortunate, pathway that we're on. But it's going to change. I know it's going to change. It's all beautiful. And that's great. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Glenn. Kate's on it.
Yeah, we're in the midst of shifting timelines. And, the more, even having this, this visual aspect of this light being is starting to activate you. When you pass by it, your subconscious mind picks it up. And it is bringing in the openness of potential for contact. It is like the extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional races have been breadcrumbing over and over and over. Little spots, little places, little things. So they're letting you know that they're there without directly interfering with your everyday decisions. And things like what Emery and I are doing today, and Emery's mission on cosmic disclosure is coming from us. And it's coming from our ability to look at things in a different way. And the more that we open up our light, the more that we open up our hearts, the more that we open up the opportunity to see things in a different perception, in a wider perception, in a broader stroke. And then we allow new things to come in, new thoughts, new ideas, new feelings, new emotions. And then it makes us more inquisitive. What is our ancestral race? Where did I really come from? How am I tied to the stars? Right? All questions that we all have right now. And we're coming into that knowledge. We're coming into that consciousness of creating that through our own connections to who we really are. And by connecting to who we really are, we get to connect to all of these wonderful, benevolent extraterrestrial races and extra-dimensional races that are already here.
Yeah, absolutely. That have been here for quite some time, and we get newbies coming all the time, new different races of extraterrestrial. There's over 1 million of them here already on the surface. Excuse me, and don't forget about inner Earth. There's a lot more. A lot more is going on in inner Earth
down there
than anywhere else. It's funny because the oceans there are 10 times larger than the ones we have here, and there's lots of civilizations Yeah, it's an amazing place. We'll get into that in a little bit. So Kathy said, but aren't the nuclear bombs being disarmed by ETs? Now, if more than 75%, 2/3 of the world, let's say, is going to be destroyed or the population will be put down, then they will intervene because just one nuclear bomb is going to affect our life expectancy worldwide, just one. And we have dozens of nuclear bombs, Russian nuclear subs down there right now with nuclear warheads in Cuba, 60 miles, 90 miles from Miami. So that's not a good sign, even if there was an accident where one blew up anywhere. We have special, we in the military and clandestine projects have ways to, track those things, but it doesn't mean they're going to stop it. There's always some other agenda. It all depends on, what are we supposed, what is supposed to happen in this lifetime for us to grow? Is it because, is it going to be a tsunami, created by a scalar weapon? Is it going to be, Old Faithful blowing up as a volcano? Lots of different things can happen. The ETs are always there during international crisis. They're always there during, volcanic eruptions and major earthquakes. You see them, their lights zipping around. There's so many spotting things. They are on top of it. If it wasn't for the extraterrestrials out there, the corona mass ejection would have already wiped us out. We had a corona mass ejection this past year that would have definitely took out the whole planet.
That was monumental.
And it was deflected. Ask David Adair. Ask Richard Doty. It was deflected. What deflected it?
You bring up a great point, Emery.
You cannot deflect light. We can't. I mean, if you have a mirror, it's amazing because these things are, thousands of miles long. And so anyway, it's happened already in the past, and it happened again, and now we're due for another one. There's a lot of things that can happen, and you have to expect and be prepared for that. That's why we're preppers, and Darla and I, as Glenn knows, we have all these crazy things, and just to have, you gotta have something to be prepared if you're in a spot for that, and if you're not in a spot, if you just live in an apartment in New York, you can hook up with friends that you have a place to go. You always have a plan. Where was I going with this? Oh, so the ETs. My remote view, which I don't like predicting anything. I'm not a Dave Wilcock because it's 99%, he's going to be wrong. What I want to do is say, well, Ed Dames predicted that, so-and-so predicted this. I see things that, there are going to be a lot more tragic things happen, but that's always how it's been. So it's nothing new. It's just, what do we do when we enter World War III, if it were? What do we do if there was a corona mass ejection? What if we do if there was a nuclear accident in Cuba? Okay, well, you got to put the thinking cap on, and we'll instruct you because this is what we're trained for. The best thing to do is to meditate, and you put out in the field of energy that that's not going to happen. You say it out loud. We are not going to be a nuclear attack. We're not going to go to World War III. We're not going to have any more tsunamis and volcanic eruptions. And if we do, the extraterrestrials already proven that they will stop these things, or they will go in and make it so it's not so traumatic for the planet and for us. However, the secret number out there, which I don't like the whole number thing, which was also said by many, many different scholars out there and rocket scientists and people that were connected without saying names, is that, that more than, 75%, but that's still a lot. 76%, right, if we're up to 75%, of 7.2 billion people, that's a lot. It's a lot of people it's going to go down. And you got to say, well, there's going to be no electric, no pharmacy for diabetics. So it's good to have little backup plans for your loved ones that are on medications and things like that. until help arrives. And my guess, if there was something that extensive, you definitely, your survival kit is made out of fat and it's in between your two ears. That's the only thing you need is your beautiful mind and your beautiful heart. And hopefully you still have a physical body. If not, come see me, sit on my shoulder and back this up.
That's an important part, Emery, and I want to dovetail a little bit on that. We talked a little bit about science and about vibration and frequency, and every thought that you think is a frequency. So depending on if you're thinking like, oh, it's time for me to eat dinner. Oh, I don't like this person. Oh, I don't resonate with that. Oh, I love the world. I love people. I love them. All of that, each that is a frequency. And we have to remember that, frequency doesn't necessarily have an end. And I like to call this the ripple effect. So when you drop a pebble in the water, it starts a ripple. And you can never see the end of that ripple. You don't know where it ends. It goes beyond your line of sight. And that is still very true with frequency. When we come into communities of people that are loving, heart-centered, and want to raise their consciousness, want to be in a very equal community, well, those thoughts carry a vibration. And we don't know how far that they go. And that's part of the reason why I believe that the ET and the extra dimensionals are kind of here to oversee, because our worlds are all tied together. It's not necessarily that we're on this sphere silo that is protected and there's nothing else that can penetrate it. Because what we do here on Earth has a profound effect on the cosmos that we live in and the universe. There is a vibrational effect because there's just no end to things. And when we come from that positive, more loving areas of our life, we start to change these timelines. We sway them. And it becomes from a possibility to a probability. We can't write things in stone. I don't know anybody who's 100% accurate all the time with their predictions. I think people look at the possibilities and probabilities in order to make some type of educated guess, but that's also backed by all of the life's experiences of this one particular individual who's making that. So you have to take that with a grain of salt and use your own intelligence, your own heart intelligence of making decision what resonates with you, and not necessarily listening to everything is a gospel or the end all be all that what someone said is the doom and gloom that we won't have a planet in another 5 years. Rely on your heart to tell you what's the truth to you, because we all resonate differently, but we all can pick up on that loving aspect, that nurturing aspect, and what really resonates with us.
Yeah, I agree, Glenn. I'm glad you said that. I take it back because the heart is usually more important in decision making than the brain. So, I like what you said about that, because the energy that you need to decipher, and and nothing against all the psychics out there and remote viewers and all these gurus. I don't really believe in any of that, because like Glenn said, I'm going to do what Emery has experienced through my life, make my own decisions, just like I study history so it doesn't repeat itself in certain ways. And I think everyone should do that. I don't like people calling me up, fear mongering about Planet X is going to collide with Planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't want to know why. Whatever. There's always going to be that out there. There's just too much psychobabble on the internet. It's not truthful. It's guided by opinion of that individual, like Glenn said. and that's why I'll never predict, like my colleagues do, and they're always wrong. So and they still do it, and people still believe it. I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not. I just don't get it. But it's sometimes it's good because they feel, I don't know, hope from it. But like I said, and just like Glenn said, use your own self for that. All right, back to these questions.
All right.
Zara, oh, thank you. Whoever said that about my shirt, I lost it. Yeah, I wore my cosmic shirt today.
Beautiful color.
Do you see it? This is Las Vegas style cosmic. This is what the ETs were wearing when they landed. See all the little glitter stuff? Hey, check out my necklace. Isn't that cool?
Ooh, I like that.
Whoa. Andara quartz in gold. I'm starting to make them. If you guys want them, write into cosmicmarket3@gmail.com and request one, and I'll give you a ring and make it. I love crystals. I love crystals so much. I collect a lot of crystals. Just made this. Look at that.
That's cool.
Isn't that amazing? So I'm gonna start making these things because it's part of my little hobby thing I do. It's like meditation for me when I'm playing with crystals. So if you guys are interested in stuff like this look at this beautiful Merkaba, lapis lazuli. You got howlite, you got a lot of different really good rocks in there. Darla's like, oh, why do you want to do something like that? Why do you want to pick up another thing?
I got my howlite right here.
Oh, look at that.
It's a pretty howlite pyramid.
I love all your stuff. Why don't you give us, what do you got back there you can show us? That you want
Oh, God, Emery, I got a whole bunch of stuff.
What's your favorite crystal?
This one came from Russia. This little guy. Let's see if you can see him.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's called Glennonite.
Oh, yeah, Glenn. You gave me one.
Used for metaphysical properties. So,
which is the one you gave me, Glenn?
I gave you Prehnite.
Oh,
Prehnite has 3 different colors in it. It comes in green, a yellow green, and a white. And the white is the most desired because it is the rarest of all. It is extremely pure. And I have a piece of Prehnite so people can see what it is. I'll just
well, tell me, what is the Glennite? Glennite is its own mineral, right?
It is its own mineral. It's only found in 2 places on the planet, and Russia is one of them. This is Prehnite.
And that's only found in one place on the planet, too.
Right. This is found generally in the area between, there's a place in New Jersey where, very close to where Emery was born, and it's found where I live here in Connecticut.
Wow.
And
I love it.
It's a very good energetic property. It's a lovely stone, and it has what they call a snake-like property. So it's bulbous in a linear fashion. And when I got to see Emery, I brought him all 3 versions so he could have it in his house.
Let me see if I can take you to show you my new one. Oh.
The traveling laptop.
Look at this. This is my planet. Look how big it is.
That's cool.
Yeah, it weighs a lot. This is
friends.
Oh. Whoa, dude!
Hi guys. Good to meet you.
Can you see him?
Yeah. Sending my love, pups. Oh gosh, you're big. Oh my God. Those guys are great.
All right, so this is another one. This is Mookite. Hey, that's Mookite. That's found in Well, you. Stop. All right, Lukai is found in Australia.
Ooh.
And it's ancient prehistoric sediment. This is Amazonite.
Is that kind of big one? Not correct.
There's another one that's really amazing. Amazonite. Actually, this is from Madagascar, the Lukai. Then the Amazonite is from northern Australia.
Mm.
And then I got rose quartz with kyanite. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Of course, we got the big ones, you know. That's the
Beautiful amethyst.
lots of little things. It's all over. We have them all over the house. There's celestite that's been irradiated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of course, there's the candle. We're gonna have a candle.
Right.
Are you guys?
We were talking about frequency, Emery. Like all of these are one-dimensional beings. They're single-dimensional beings that carry frequency, and we know that information is stored in rock.
Oh, they're the hard drives of the universe.
That's
Of
right.
the planetary systems, you know, when we had sampling, you know, when I was doing the portal technology and the investigating the crafts, one of the most amazing things were they always had some sort of crystalline structure on board. One was, of course, the giant one, looked like a 4x8 piece of plywood about 8 inches thick. This giant rectangular cube. And it was the power system, and it just looked like a big piece of pink glass. But it was a crystal that we don't have here on the planet, and it was formed in space because the density was too dense for it to be formed on a planet with gravity. And the other thing is when we would go through this, you know, one of the positions, you know, would be that when you go through, I don't know if any of you guys seen my portal episodes on cosmic disclosure. I don't know if Darcy put that. Yeah, she did. Yeah, Darcy, throw that if you haven't already. You probably already did. If you haven't seen the episode on portals when David Wilcock is interviewing me, that's a good one to watch. One of the things we would do is someone on the team was in charge of, you know, collecting dirt and rocks. Yes, that's what I was doing. I was collecting dirt, rocks, and feces and petrified stool. Yeah, I know it's a very
Glamorous job.
rewarding job. But hey, you got to go through this portal and do it. And these crystalline structures that we've gathered from other, you know, other places, I'll say, do have a way that you, with the right tools and equipment, you can access it. Now, most crystals, when we evolve to a higher state of consciousness, we'll be able just to hold it, touch it, or look at it and download it immediately. We're not at that level yet because, you know, 90% of our brain and energies have not been activated yet. And that's why it's important that we do activation, which means, you know, the meditation, going to these beautiful retreats that like Glenn throws, and, you know, getting under the stars as often as you can, because the stars are giving you downloads. The light from other systems, when you go to these CE5s, and just don't go out there for a couple hours, you know, try to make it at least 4 hours. You know, I like it to go at sunset, get done around 2 a.m. So, you know, you have a good 6 hours out there. So, and get these energies and, you know, bring in and manifest the energies of the extraterrestrials to come in and download you with this energy. Plus being outside the earth, if you're grounding, another important thing for upgrades.
Very,
you know, one of the things, right? You know, one of the things I have my team do and myself, you know, I do it every day. I ground, you know, not a long time. I might only do it for 10 minutes sometimes. But every day it's like reading the newspaper. You get updated. Well, you need to update your DNA. And the way to do that are all these different ways. And crystals are great. If you can sleep with a crystal, you will get some of the energies off those crystals. You know, wearing them are great. larger the crystal, though, believe it or not, the more energy it does have. So of course, I like really big crystals around the house and in the bed. I also have a bio-rich medical way mat that, has 100 pounds of amethyst that I sleep on. So these are just different technologies you guys can use, um, you know, to help upgrade your DNA as far as, getting the downloads from, and I'm getting the uploads from the downloaded crystals.
Yeah, we're always exchanging that information, the frequency in between these things and how we interact. And, we forget because of all of our more materialistic things that, how connected we really are to these. We are of a crystalline structure, right? And within our body, we have, the rhombohedron, crystals in our pineal, which are, our transmitter and receiver of information. So the more that we interact with these particular, one-dimensional beings, the more that we start to open up ourselves in many different ways.
Right.
And that history of, that comes from Egypt, that they were always using different stones and gems, and that's probably where we got adorned with jewelry, not for its intrinsic value or for its beauty, but for its vibrational frequency. And we know that gold is a highly transmittable media of frequency.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, those sconces with those conical pyramids on them of white powdery substance is the purest form of monoatomic gold. It's a powdered gold. It's super rare and it has amazing qualities. It can make you levitate. Of course, it cures and heals everything. It brings your DNA back to day one where it's not polluted, and anything that you were born with, it reconnects it immediately. So a lot of the higher echelon pharaohs and medicine men were, utilizing this gold. Now, gold, that monoatomic mana, they call it the mana, the same thing that was inside the Ark of the Covenant when Moses left, left to go part the waters. The way he was able to part the waters, because everyone that got a biscuit, the bread of life there, that little biscuit, he mixed the mana in there. So there were, these thousands and thousands of people were just vibrating so high that the water actually went to the side. Anyway, that's my rendition of why that happened scientifically. And guess what? That's right. Your nano green and nano blue does have mana in it. It's not in great quantities, of course, but you don't need to when you deal with frequencies. You just have to have a little bit in there for it to stay in and form around that atomic structure of the water molecule. The water molecule is a crystalline structure that is a hard drive, and that's why it records love, it records nasty things. And like I said, check out the description on NanoBlue on emerysmith.co, and you can see all the crystals that we run the water through to begin with. And there's many, many different crystals. I'll try to copy paste it. It's a lot of, there's a lot of different things we do for that water. So I just want to throw that in there.
Right. And for your viewers, think about different frequency. Each crystal has a frequency. So every time that water is passing through that particular crystal molecule, it's picking up that frequency. So all of those frequencies that Emery's listening through these crystals, you're taking the positive effect of that. And then Emery even adds more frequency to it. So
we have a little more. It's an unlimited hard drive, so it's not a terabyte, it's unlimited. And it's great that water can take that many frequencies. It takes a long time for us to make, just a quart of nano blue, as Glenn knows. But the thing is, it's so packed in there and it doesn't change. We have ways of measuring frequencies, of course, and voltages. So if the voltage gets higher, it stays in the water. We've done water, nano green and nano blue water and waited a year, it's still testing the voltage was still high. So it's amazing that, we put it in the sun, we put it in aircraft, we took it up really high in the atmosphere, where most water is damaged. It gets radioactive and comes back with different charges. Ours would not take any radiation on. So what do you think it's doing for your body? You know what I mean? Well, Darcy said she had a little testimonial. She goes, I just killed food poisoning with some nano glue. And she's a tough person to convince. And, she got some food poisoning the other day. And I said, just take the nano glue. Darla told her, and she did, and she was okay. Thank you, Zara. Zara's like, these products are incredible. Okay, Kathy looks good. Okay, yes, Kathy, I'm doing very well. Thank you. Okay. 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 Robin said I'm going to plant a seed here for one of us here, maybe you, Glenn, that you'll consider holding a Western conference in the southern Alberta Rockies between Banff, I love Banff, oh my gosh, I want to go to Banff so bad, and Waterton Glacier International Peace Park. There are incredible energy spots like Lake Louise, ancient Nitisippi petroglyph sites, beautiful spaces to forest bathe, build heart-centered coherence fields,
Yes.
hold seating vibes. There are holy spaces there. Yeah, there is sacred headwaters in the crown. Yeah, I can attest to that. I know that area very well. I did not go directly into Banff, but around that area, I want to go and stay in Banff one year. I think it's an amazing place, Rob, and we'll research that and look into it.
Thank you. Thank you for
Michelle.
the comment.
Yeah, thanks so much. Michelle said thanks, amazing, Glenn. Thanks so much for your answer. And Darcy's there with I don't know who that is. I can't see. It's not Lily. Sometimes we have canine friends come on to say hello from our team.
This is a canine
program. This is another canine.
This is Larry.
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 Okay.
Getting to the.
He's a little dark. I forgot Larry's a she. It confuses me all the time. Larry went through a transgender thing, so Larry's now a female. Even the dogs are doing it. I don't know what's going on, Glenn.
I don't know.
Okay, so. Okay. What? Oh, this kidding. No, Larry is really a female. No sex change. All right. Okay, let's see. Darcy always has her dogs there when she does her chakra balancing. I think animals are great. They got great positive energy. I bring the animals on all my CE5s, as do my crystals. So I have a lot of crystals that we're going to be posting on the website for sale soon. And some have been on, almost 1,000 CE5s. Some of these have, been on, 100 CE5s. Crystals, I always bring certain crystals because the download information you're getting also goes to that crystal, whether you're wearing it or whatever. I don't care. The size doesn't matter on these crystals because they're downloads that you're receiving for your body and it gets into the crystal. And if you wear the crystal, that energy keeps reciprocating into the body. So that's another thing when you do go out on your hikes and your meditations, no matter what, always have at least one good one. I carry dozens of them with me, of course, and all different sizes. Yeah.
My traveling crystal?
That's your traveling crystal. It's beautiful.
My traveling crystal.
So I'm going to offer some of those that I've had my collection. My collection is getting just so huge now, thousands and thousands of crystals. I'm going to throw some of those up there on the website next month. All right, let's see. Kathy says, my animal totem is a dragon. She did 3 past life regressions and dragons with me in those past lives. That sounds like dark.
Dragons are great. They bring a great energy. And our mythology is put a negative connotation on dragons. And yes, there are different polarities of dragons, just like there are different polarities of humans, but they're predominantly very benevolent and very heart-centered and loving. And we're in the year of the dragon.
Yeah. Oh, we are? That's right. All right, let's see what's going on down here. Jude says, Alexandrite is my favorite, comes from Russia. I like that one. Okay. Let's see. Okay. We're caught up with questions, Glenn. So we got a good, 20 minutes left here. We can go into, let me see our list here. What else? I don't know if we didn't really even touch on everything, but we can go into, the gridding. We have to go over the gridding, most importantly. Mike, the gridding. All right, let me grab some.
Awesome. So we know, I kind of mentioned this a little bit, so we kind of touched on it, that, there's ley lines, there's energetic lines that are all over the planet. And if you can picture maybe what a sphere would look like, and then picture a single layer of a geodesic wrapping around this entire planet or this entire sphere, and then put another one, and then another one, and another one that are all in different layers. That kind of speaks to the grid system of energy that comes atop of the Earth. Now, there's also a grid energy that is in the inner Earth as well. And through many different things in our lifetime and of existence, through our history, certain areas of these grids become distorted, disconnected. And what was interesting, I'll share a short little story, is earlier this year when I was out to visit Emery, I had this property in myself called clear proprioception. Clear proprioception for me means that when I put myself back into my heart space, it is a guiding force, kind of like a navigation, like an almost automatic GPS that I know where to go. And I had a little bit of time before I had to meet with Emery, and I'm like, well, something's coming up for me. So I just kind of followed my clear proprioception of intuition and just started driving around. Unbeknownst to me, I was, probably a few thousand feet from Emery's home, and I found this beautiful place on the hillside that I was called to. So got out of my car, didn't know exactly where I was, and started to walk and find this amazing petroglyph site. And that portion that comes through Nevada, there is the San Andreas fault line, and I had never walked on a fault line, I never saw a fault line. I'd been all over the country, but I never was on the San Andreas. And immediately I knew, right, that this is a fault line and to follow this. So I followed the fault line, and I started to just walk and feel these energies and feel a sensation that I had been there before. And I noticed that there was a cairns on top of a hillside. So I walked up and got atop of the cairns. It was about 125 feet from the fault line. And then
explain to the viewers what cairns is.
Cairns are certain rock structures that denote either a location or an energy center or a place of direction. And they were used as designation spots to follow certain trails, certain places. For me, when I saw this, I knew that this was a connection of energy, that it was an energetic connection. I looked directly across, and it created a triangle. So there was a triangulation of 3 cairns, and I knew that this was an energy center. When I kind of put myself into the space, I felt that it was broken and that it needed to be mended, and that it was part of the healing process of some of the trauma that was felt in this area. And this area overlooks Las Vegas, probably by maybe an elevation of about 1,000 feet. So as you're looking across the San Andreas, between these cairns elevated, you see this beautiful outline of the city of Las Vegas. And, I walked up there and I started to feel my light language arise. And then I felt this heartache and a pain that, there was a trauma here. And that's how I know. It's kind of like when you have a broken heart, someone breaks your heart. We use that in a literal sense, that you feel something in your heart. That's what I felt. And as I came up upon this space, it came to me to do my light language. And my light language was the activation to re-bring these energies back into a clear formation and rid the distortion of the traumas that were in that area. So knowing that, I just went to the very top. I set my traveling crystal atop of that. So I brought my energetic crystal with me, and I began to heal that area of the land to reconnect the energies. And I could feel as almost like I was pulling things down. And for me, sometimes I get a visual presence, sometimes I don't, sometimes it's more of a sensation. But by my language, I was bringing these energies back down from the grid above, back connected to the earth in this area to reconnect the energy systems that were natural to the planet at some point in time. May it be, 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago or 10,000, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, after I did this, the energetic presence was remarkably different in a positive sense, and the trauma was gone. And that's part of the grid work.
Yeah.
Part of grid work is to heal the energies of the land. And here in the Northeast region where I live, there's a lot of traumas. There's a lot of dense areas, be it that as the white man came to the land to explore, to find their new America, that the natives had to leave. And not only that, but it's the industrialization of the properties of the lands changed the energies of the lands, because it was farmland, it was sacred, it was forest, it was, sanctuaries of animals where all of these beings and elementals lived, and they were shoved out in order for us to begin a new world, a new life in a new area, and not necessarily giving the respect of what was already there. We decided that we took the land for ourselves, and therefore
I'm sure the displacement and that negative energy is, abundant in those areas.
Right. And, part of my work that I'm called to do is to reestablish those connections of energies. And, by the work that I do, by the work that you do, by healing your own traumas, and wherever you are on the planet, you are also healing the traumas that were there before you got here. And it's so important that, when you do your own work, you're actually doing work for the whole collective. The whole collective.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The whole collective of all of the flora and fauna, all of the beings that exist that maybe you can't necessarily see. But I can assure you, the more work that you do personally through your own heart-centeredness, the more you become aware that there is so much more present, and then you start to see it for yourself.
Right. Beautiful, beautiful, Glenn. One of the services that I offer too is people want to usually protect, grid their home, their ranch, their farm, and there's special ways we do that, not only with technology, but with these giant selenite rods that are about 2 feet long, and about 6 inches thick. These selenite rods are really important. We have different sizes of them. Mine are about the size of the fence post. We grid the corners of the home. We grid the corners of the property. So there is an energetic field, like he says, of a geometric shape, whether we're using Merkaba energy, pyramid energy, dodecahedron energy. There's just different ways depending on where the property is at, because some properties don't fall on ley lines, but we can harvest the energy from the ley lines when we know where it's at directionally. These are directional energies too. So it's easy to do. It takes time for us to do it, but it's easy to do. If it's something you're interested in that, you can write into cosmicmarket3@gmail, and you can get a quote for your GPS coordinates for us gridding the home, protecting it, and also the property itself. Well, that's fascinating, Glenn. I'm glad we touched a little bit on that because that was part of this program. The other part was, we talked about, I have a lot of amazing products, of course. There's a new product that I think you guys will be interested in. People are viewing this and people that will view this tomorrow. And there it is. This is amazing stuff.
Brand new stuff.
And what are we calling that, Glenn?
We're calling it Cosmic Stimulator.
Yeah, Cosmic Stimulator is the name we came up for. You can only get it through Glenn's. Is it on your? Where are you going to put it, on your website, or what's your?
It's going to be up on my website. It will be up hopefully either tonight or early Eastern time tomorrow morning.
And what's a good email that they can reach you if they want to find out more about it?
If you're interested in this product, you can reach me at, it's very easy. It's my name, Glenn, Glenn, mate, M-A-T-E, S as in Sam, R as in Romeo, at gmail.com. GlennMateSenior@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to give you a little download of information more about the product. And of course, Emery and I are going to talk a bit about it, but I can give you kind of more like the hard copy of the information of how it's made. And of course, it's made at, Emery's loving lab. I'm great with this product.
Yeah, it is.
No pun intended.
It is pink. It's pink because of a high concentration of the rose gold. Really, pure rose gold that we make it with gives it that tinge. The molecule of that gold will tinge the water. And it's not just, that's what it's known for. I don't actually carry anything like this. We're especially making this specifically for the meditators and the people that want to.
Right.
And there's a spray, and then there's the nasal spray.
And then we have a nasal spray. Can I tell them a little bit about the nasal spray, Emery, and why we came up with it?
Yeah, no, please do. Yeah, it's fascinating.
So as a medical professional, both myself and Emery and, Nurse Darla, we know that through the mucous membranes, there is a lot of penetration, a lot of cellular penetration. And we use common things, and I'm sure if I said, Narcan is, what is used for a drug overdose to help save somebody's life because it's so fast acting, right? So we know that when we atomize something into the nasal cavity, which is filled with capillaries, that everything gets right into the system very, very quickly, right? So it's a very fast-acting type thing. And so we applied some of that forethought of can we use this to create a higher meditative state, a higher energetic state, and taking all of the good stuff from nano blue, nano green, nano pink, nanodive, we're taking all of those good things to increase. And because it's so close to the brain, you're getting that quick action. So you're creating a high level of energy, a high level of frequency, and you're creating the opportunity to raise your brain level. You're going from your normal operational state of beta, you can quickly get into an alpha and a theta state with your intention and the use of this. So I found that to be extremely beneficial for those who want to start a meditative practice but might have a little difficulty concentrating, because now we're energizing the system to match that intention. And, that's why I really love this, because it gives somebody a little bit of an edge where you can sustain that state now, and you can, experience meditation in a new way, in a more prolific and a more mystical way, because it's got all these good things. It's got the ormus in it. It's got the zeolite in it. It's got trace minerals in it. It's got all the things that you would want your body to create that higher amplitude of frequency. So, it really came out really good. And then, we came out with the spray, which again, you can put, you spray a couple of shots on your face and then just come into a nice heart-centered state, and it works the same way. So you have, two different options if you're not comfortable with, putting something in your nose. But that was the thought behind that.
Yeah, it also clears that energy field immediately. So, we can see that on our special cameras that we use as we treat patients with frequency. We can see the body changing its frequency because it's trying to get homeostasis. So with the spray and with the nasal spray, which is instant to your brain, if you like Ormus products, and that type of thing for increasing your hypnagogic states while you're sleeping and having really vivid dreams, you're really going to love this stuff. But it's instant, so you get it right when you need it. You don't have to wait 45 minutes for the oral, because it immediately changes it. And you can see on our videos, which we're going to be posting here in a couple of weeks, that as soon as you do the spray, it just starts vibrating right through the crown chakra and then right all the way down to your sacral chakra. And it's an amazing experience, and some people need to be reset. Sometimes it's hard after a rough day,
right?
To get into that mood, or sometimes if you've been attacked by a loved one, or you're in a bad area and where you stay at, there's a lot of negativity. This forms that own etheric field around you to block out all this negativity, so you can get directly to that spot and launch. But yeah, Glenn has a great definition. I couldn't put it better myself.
Yeah, Emery, we didn't even touch on, the protection that you get from 5G and 6G and any type of negative scalar energies as well. And it's really important to know, especially if you're living in a city area that is, inundated with lots of cell phone towers, or, like here in the Northeast, we're inundated with satellites that are over us. For every square mile, there's practically 3 satellites in the sky that are always over us. And there's all different types of energies that we're not necessarily aware of, including the atmospheric changes that are sometimes, dispersed into the sky, that these particular, sprays are helping us to, create that shielded area, so we're not being directly bombarded constantly with that. So, and that also helped us connect, because we have no other energies that we're trying to combat, simultaneously when we're trying to get into a higher state of consciousness.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it is, a DNA correction and adding vibration frequencies to that. So you're vibrating at a higher density, which allows your body to reflect some of these energies from Wi-Fi, of course, and from 5G, 6G, like he was talking about. A lot of people that live in apartment condo complexes, I've noticed they're getting doused with anywhere from 10 to 70 different Wi-Fi frequencies when they sleep. This is something you really have to look at. You just see how many on your phone and Wi-Fi connections there are in some of these places. And we do have, things for that. But, you start with yourself and, with these products, and, you should see some significant improvement of how you sleep and how you're feeling throughout the day. Glenn, thank you very much for that. I still, before we leave, I know we're going over a little bit, but I don't think anyone's going to complain. Let me really quick see if there's any other questions before we end it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where'd it go here? Oh, there we go. All right, Sienna says, last year I stumbled upon light language by chance. It means it was activated within me without me knowing beforehand that such thing even existed. It felt like a download. Nowadays, various entities channel through me and speak through me, which is extremely powerful. I now know that many other people are experiencing this as well. What do you think the reason that the light language is being activated in so many people, and what do you believe is the reason for this happening now? Do you think it is a soul, Glenn May?
Aha. Well, that's a very good question, and thank you for asking that. I think that we came into this planet Earth at this particular time to really remind us of who we really are. And over the course of the last few hundred years, we've been taught to be minimized, that we're small, that we're only here to produce certain products or do certain functions in the world. And I believe that we are so much more, so unlimited, so we haven't even seen the very tip of the iceberg of what we can do as a human being. And with great respect, I understand that, because maybe if we had all this power, we wouldn't necessarily be able to wield it in the best way. But because we've been through so many hardships, we're starting to trickle to understand our real capability. And through our evolution and time, through all of these energetic releases from the sun, from the energetic changes in Mother Gaia, that is, she is ascending to a higher level of density, that we are starting to come into balance with all of that. And therefore, we're starting to realize our gifts, and mostly unbeknownst to us, that they come up. And that's how my light language came up. I practice, doing some mindfulness, and all of a sudden this language started to come out of my mouth, and I'm like, wow, is this Japanese? Why is this coming out? And I didn't necessarily understand it. And there was nothing to go by to research to find it, because there's not much on light language, written, unless that you know somebody that knows somebody else that knows somebody else. For me, I was synchronistically in connection with someone in Japan who just happened to be visiting the United States promoting something. And she validated for me, because of her knowledge and training and who she is, that I was actually speaking light language, and started to decipher it, and gave me tips and tricks on how to continue to explore that. And within many years of just more allowing to come out, I think that we are all starting to come into an awareness of who we really are and what we're really capable of. And the more of us who we expand and explore and ask questions and try to find things out and use our heart center to decipher what truly resonates with us, instead of having people project things upon us, we're using our senses in a much broader spectrum, and we're opening up our DNA that is allowing us to even increase more. So I think that all of these things that are currently happening, the aurora borealis that has been being seen, these are all things that are starting to lighten up, and these are giving us the actual physical pieces of information that things are changing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. And it needs to. Transformation is part of this whole life that we're living. It's about the change. It's about getting out of your comfort zone and experiencing new things. So, Glenn, would you bless us with a demonstration
I'd love to.
of light language? And if everybody wants to find a nice, comfortable position and kind of relax and let yourself kind of just relax, like you're going to go into meditation, and listen to the language. And, you're going to find it fascinating. I'm not going to explain it. I'll just let you guys be silent for 5 minutes here, and we're going to listen to Glenn as he channels this light language from within himself, and enjoy. Thank you, Glenn.
My pleasure. So what I'd like everybody to do is just to take a hand, right or left, doesn't matter, and just place it on your heart. So by your tactile touch to your heart, that means that where you place your focus is where you're placing your heart. Oh, your energy and your focus is in your heart. So just slow your breathing down a little bit slower than normal, and just find a nice, easy, comfortable rhythm. And by doing this, I'm going to speak directly to your heart and to your DNA and to the essence of who you truly are. Love and light. So for me, what happens is I get the message behind the language. And light language is what we call a packed thought form, meaning
It's in thought.
if you were to talk about the concept of molecular structure and all of the science and all of the theories that go behind it, you would be talking about volumes and volumes and volumes of books of information. And this is compressed. So think of it as almost like a zip file of information that is directly pointed to you to activate you, to bring something to the surface, to allow something to change within you. And this expression comes through my language, and you saw my hands moving, but it also comes in the same symbology as that we spoke through before, as the Hopi left certain symbols, certain pieces of what we call art, to activate us in certain ways. And if you see that my eyes are closed, I'm doing somewhat called channeling. And this is where I connect to a higher level of information, and I speak from a different place that comes through me. So this light language is here to serve and to open things up. It is here to allow new things in you to be expressed. Whatever way it may be, it comes through your heart. And it's recognized by your heart as something that you were born with. It came with you when you came into the existence of this earthly life. And this information is here to expand you. And it will resonate in a certain way that brings that harmonic frequency into a balance and changes something within you. The message behind the light language is to find your greatest passion, your greatest joy, your greatest love, and to act on that greatest passion and love without any reservation, without any judgment, without any preconceived notions of how you may be perceived. For your greatest joy, your greatest love, your greatest expression through who you are creates the most individual person in uniqueness. And for that uniqueness, you are loved. You are appreciated. You are special. You are most worthy, and you are so very important in this lifetime. Your energetic reactions within human to human are so very important because you are activating each other as a mirror. And when you express your love when you express your joy, when you express your passion, you are opening others up. You are inspiring. And just as Glenn spoke before, you do not know where the ripple effect ends for that drop of the stone into the water. So follow your heart, follow your intuition. It is your true guide. With love.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We love it. We love it. And, you know, if you guys want more of this, you know, you can find him on his website. We'll say it one more time before we, yes, he knows where it's at.
Thank you, R2B2. You can find him at www.divinehealing.org. And the event that I'm holding in July is www.stargatecrusader.com. Either way, you can find me through either way, or you can email me.
Say it one more time, the first one, because R2B2 are barking.
That's www.divinephoenixhealing.org. O-R-G.
Okay, great. And you guys know where to find me. You can find me at www.emerysmith.co. And you can email me directly at cosmicmarket3@gmail.com. I want to thank everyone for joining us on this lovely day, and thanks for your support. We will have live replay this live event back on my YouTube channel tomorrow. If you want to share it with some friends, if you want to post it and get the word out so people can find Glenn, that'd be great. And Glenn, mate, thank you, my spiritual brother. Until next time.
I love spending time with you. I can't wait to the next time. Thank you for having me. I so much appreciate and love you. I send all my love to your most beautiful Darla. Thank you, Darcy, for doing all of the behind the scenes things that you do. You are appreciated and loved. And I send my love to my two favorite canines, R2 and B2.
Well, thank you. I want to thank Darcy and Darla, as usual, the Cosmic Twins. And of course, Larry, since Larry was helping Darcy behind the scenes.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, Larry was there doing his light work with R2B2 from a distance. And we appreciate all of you. We have a great team here. We could not do it without them. So, that being said, until the next cosmic time we meet, you can catch me on Gaia TV on Cosmic Disclosure. I'm also on National Discovery Channel, Blind Frog Ranch. And there's another new Netflix series that I'm on called, what's it called? UFO Conspiracies? What's it called? Yeah, something like that. It's one of the #1 documentaries. Docu-series. Also want to thank David Campbell for getting and managing this beautiful Cosmic Community website on Facebook.
Thank you, Brother David.
Reaching this pinnacle of 20-some thousand people that really follow the Cosmic Disclosure movement, and just a great group of followers and people. We don't take any negativity or any weird people, so stay away from us if you're one of those. But yeah, so thank you guys. Thank you for everything. Check out all these new shows that we have. We're filming next month with Gaia TV, 3 different people. Can't talk about it, that's classified. But you're going to see non-stop. It's always going. We got the best show on Gaia TV, Cosmic Disclosure, because of people like you are watching it. So thanks for your support, and we will continue to do that, and we will continue to update you. Follow our social networking, of course. Bye-bye, guys.